What does it mean to have true strength in the Force? Is it defined by having an exceptionally high midichlorian count? Is it having years of training and hard work? Or is it something else? Something so powerful that it is beyond the mental perception of mortal beings. Things exist in the Star Wars galaxy that logically should have been impossible. Such beings come to mind as the Force Priestesses, the Bedlam Spirits, the Ones of Mortis, and now most prominently, Abeloth. Recently, canon has begun to explore these hyper-powered concepts in a visual way like we've never seen them before. And when we all realized what true strength in the Force meant was when we finally got to see a full potential Anakin Skywalker. The conversation has now been reopened around Anakin's real power as the Chosen One and presumed master of the world between worlds. Yet another conversation has been brought to light out of the darkness. The beloved Queen of the Stars, Abeloth. On Peridia, Anakin has been seen, and we assume that the power Baylan now seeks is the bringer of chaos. With these two entities possibly existing at the same time, the only thing we can do here at the archives is put them into a battle and compare their strengths with one another. So, by analyzing their feats and strengths, we are trying to determine who would truly win if these two titans beyond death ever were to square up against one another. In actuality, the world between worlds Mortis god Anakin could meet with Abeloth. It's highly likely. Anakin has now taken the place of the father, presumably, keeping Abeloth contained, and now, with her imprisonment being his own domain and the task that he is charged with. So, can Anakin actually handle this? Let's begin with the Dark Force entity Abeloth. Her powers are quite well documented, and unlike most high beings of the Force, we actually have a decent idea of the extent of Abeloth's power. Abeloth is most famous for her mental manipulation and the way that she can easily influence the minds of anyone that come near her. Along with this, Abeloth has many other abilities like Force Flash, which can influence cameras, sensors, and technology. However, for this specific video, we are only going to be counting her physical and combative applications of the Force. Things like mental domination and Force Flash will have no bearing or effect on Anakin. And just to clarify, from any time we mention Anakin from here on out, it will be a reference to the full potential Skywalker as displayed in his appearance in Ahsoka. Anyway, Abeloth is known to be impossibly powerful and is said to have an almost immeasurable level of strength in the Force, though we actually do get somewhat of loose measurements of her strength thanks to the Fate of the Jedi book known as Vortex. In the book, it is stated that Abeloth is roughly 12 times as strong as Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, the only real clear measurement that we get. Even this is a loose estimation though, and it's possible that she could be stronger or even weaker. Abeloth is shown to have all the powers of the Ones of Mortis and more. Having drank from the font of power and bathed in the pool of knowledge, Abeloth is a wielder of both sides of the Force, but not in a balanced way, but in a way that's twisted and bizarre, mutated, and vile. She seems to be able to treat lightsaber wounds like glancing blows, barely being affected by them at all. This is due to her incredible physical and forceful durability, the category we want to talk about now. The only one of the ones touched by a lightsaber was the son, who was stabbed only after he lost all of his powers, making him vulnerable. But the father had no worry for Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber at all. Before this, the ones treated lightsabers as if they were toys, and we can assume that the weapons of the Jedi have little to no effect on a One of Mortis. In fact, the ones have power over the lightsabers, something Abeloth is repeatedly shown to have as well. Abeloth is barely harmed by their blades, and her gift of Terminus, or absorbing or conducting the lightsaber blade, is on a level far beyond any entity we've ever seen before. Not only does Abeloth absorb force lightning and deflect blaster bolts, but at one time she actually caught a bolt and held it, allowing it to burn her hand with no reaction. She was able to continue fighting after losing almost all of her limbs, and even after being thrown into lava. When she emerged from the lava, she had enough strength and rage to nearly crush Grandmaster Luke Skywalker to death with the Force. Abeloth has insane abilities in Force healing, which Luke states was far more advanced than anything he had ever seen before. Despite what a lot of Star Wars video games may have you believe, Force healing is not a common ability, nor is it an easy one to use. Especially in Legends, Force healing is a highly advanced art relegated only to those who have a natural affinity for it and trained to hone it. It is literally the art of creating life and restoring living flesh. Even advanced Jedi healers have an extremely difficult time healing themselves perfectly, but Abeloth was able to accomplish this feat instantly. What's far more impressive is also Abeloth's sheer resistance to the Force itself. Luke's full power Force blast only kept Abeloth from stepping forward for about a moment. When Ben Skywalker achieved oneness with the Force, his Force push, which had previously managed to knock a frigate out of orbit, only managed to move Abeloth a couple of centimeters. But now that we've covered her durability, what about her defensive capabilities? Abeloth had enough command over the Force to create literal Force barriers, invisible walls of solid energy which she used to intercept Luke. Abeloth had created it so suddenly that Luke ran straight into it and was sent spinning to the ground. But what is, perhaps in my opinion, one of the most impressive displays of Abeloth's defensive capabilities is how she is able to influence other people's Force abilities. In one instance, Abeloth was able to reflect Force lightning without so much as even touching it. A female Sith Lord had tried to attack Abeloth with lightning and had it simply bent back and reflected back on her. We'll now read this passage from Fate of the Jedi: Allies. Blue Force lightning shot from her palm to dance erratically in the air around her for a moment, not reaching its target. Then, inexorably, the blue lightning began to twist, like heated metal folding, to go back on its own creator. As far as Force attacks go, Abeloth is quite well known for this category. Her Force lightning was enough to completely stop Luke Skywalker, and it is implied that her Force lightning is more powerful than anything that Sidious could conjure, considering of course this is Grandmaster Luke and he was writhing in pain. Abeloth could also freeze people in Force stasis regardless of how powerful they were. Her Force speed was faster than even Luke could see, and of course, she is quite well known for her life drain ability. Beyond this, Abeloth had access to extremely esoteric Force abilities such as Fold Space. Fold Space, which was previously only thought to belong to the Ang-Ti monks. Fold Space is literally what the name implies, using the Force to fold the fabrics of space in order to teleport oneself or others across space itself. It is a high concept, reality warping ability that Abeloth used to confuse the ranks of the Sith that were attacking her. She was able to fold space around herself once they engaged with her, teleporting everyone to where they were attacking each other instead. It is shown that she can do this quite easily, since she was laughing the entire time she executed the ability. Another strange and unusual Force ability would be Plant Surge, which Abeloth did in order to control the plant life, the flora, and poisonous plants on her home world. She even influenced the flora to tear apart the body of a Sith Lord. But what about her sheer telekinetic powers, a category most Force wielders are usually judged on to determine their strength? As you may have guessed, Abeloth lies on the extreme end. Even an injured Abeloth was able to hurl any opponents regardless of their strength in the Force. She once unleashed a blast that hurled 6 highly powerful individuals away, including Grandmaster Luke, High Sith Lord Sar Sutala, a Sith Saber, and Ben Skywalker, as well as another powerful Sith Lord by the name of Vestara Kai. Abeloth could easily break through anyone's Force shield to choke them or fling them away, and she had such a fine-tuned control over telekinesis that she could use it without even meaning to on multiple objects. To do these feats justice, we ought to just read the passage from the Fate of the Jedi: Ascension. Abeloth's anguish used the Force as a weapon, as she had so often before, but this time she was barely aware that she was releasing nearly inconceivable amounts of Force energy, releasing it upon a city that was completely unprepared for it. There were several dozen beings within immediate range, some sleeping quietly in their beds, most were there with their families. They imploded. Farther away, others awoke in agony as their bodies were turned inside out, and chunks were ripped from their bones. The entire city was attacked by a wind filled with glass shards, each driven with a single purpose: to hurt anyone. Anything living inside that city. The shards melted as they pierced flesh, spreading white-hot, painful death. The buildings made of metal and glass dripped slowly towards the ground, smothering those unfortunate enough to be dwelling inside them. Abeloth's feats in the Force are extraordinary. So, now we reach the big question: how does Anakin match up? Well, Anakin's powers at this point are vague, but we do have sources, and we'll derive them from a few of them. His power as displayed in the Life as Anakin or Vader are obsolete for this matchup. No mortal can stand successfully against Abeloth. We have stated before that all feats done by Grandmaster Luke Skywalker can be attributed to full potential Anakin as well, since the most famous quote for George Lucas concerning Legends was that Luke inherited the potential of his father. And make no mistake, Luke became quite powerful, but even he was no match for Abeloth. In light of new evidence from the Ahsoka show though, it seems that the real full potential of Anakin was beyond what we thought it was, and he is now no mere Jedi or Sith. He is something more. Anakin in his current incarnation has achieved a level akin to the Ones, and the current running theory is that he has effectively replaced the position of the Father. This is due to his total control over the world between worlds, something that the Ones are now shown to have had in hand, no pun intended. Within the world between worlds, Anakin is shown to have powers over reality itself. He could not only destroy bridges in the world between worlds, but completely morph the environment to become a manifestation of Ahsoka's memories, transporting not only her, but himself back to that place in time. It wasn't as though they were simply watching her memories occur, but rather, they were literally reliving her memories in their younger forms. Anakin also displayed the ability to change his appearance at will, going from young Anakin to old, and then to both versions of Lord Vader. At the end of it all, he was able to come back from it, as well as showing that he was now not only the total master of the light, but also the dark side of the Force, the master of balance. We're not going to count his lightsaber dueling prowess as shown in this one, because it's assumed that he was holding back in order to teach Ahsoka a lesson. But secondly, I highly doubt Anakin would bother with his lightsaber in a battle against Abeloth. Both Anakin and Abeloth are beyond such weapons. But here's the full stop. Anakin has replaced the Father, and can now be assumed to possess not only their abilities, but it seems that he has surpassed their strength as well. The popular theory right now is that Anakin is comparable or maybe even surpassing the level of the Force priestesses, considering what he has been shown to be capable of. Again though, this is only a theory. With that said, we need to address the Bantha in the room. Historically speaking, it was the combined force of the Ones who trapped Abeloth and the Maw in the first place. Whenever Abeloth escaped, it was the son and the daughter who battled her back and put her back within her prison. As we only got a glimpse of Anakin's full potential on Mortis, Anakin, even as a mortal, dominated the son and daughter. Obviously, you can see where we're going with this. Master Anakin Skywalker, as he is right now, potentially outclasses even Abeloth and her entire tier. But let's say that their raw strength does match. That doesn't account for Anakin's emotional intelligence, his battle IQ, and his full and complete mastery of both sides of the Force. Anakin has now made peace with Lord Vader. The two are now one, and he is reconciled with his past as he has reached a state of unity. This is important because Abeloth is nothing but a broken doll emotionally. She warps people so that they'll adore her, and she loses her mind the moment she actually starts to feel pain, or sees someone beginning to defeat her. Abeloth's anguish is what drives her, but Anakin's clarity and wisdom is now what drives him. Abeloth is extremely intelligent, but if she's not able to mentally dominate Anakin, or use anyone he cares about against him, then she has no way of outsmarting the Chosen One. Anakin's battle IQ is possibly the highest of anyone in Star Wars barring Palpatine or Revan, and this is before he became a Mortis god. So now, let's look at their powers. Abeloth's state of using both aspects of the Force is a disgusting perversion of asserting her will to take the light and dark under her control. Anakin is much different, and has achieved true balance. And balance will always defeat abomination. We must also look at how Abeloth was defeated in the first place back when Luke Skywalker was fighting her. Luke ended up achieving oneness with the Force, which temporarily gave him godly powers. He had to use everything he had in order to bring her down, which eventually he was successful at. Think about how much more Anakin is in a state of unity with the Force, and since he is now basically unlimited stamina, he can draw upon the power infinitely. My friends, there is no way Abeloth is winning this battle if Anakin is as powerful as we have surmised. Let's say that Anakin was still mortal, and he never died and achieved the full potential of the Chosen One, but was never a god of Mortis. Anakin would still reach the point where he is right now, according to what the Father had told him on Mortis. Anakin is the master of balance and of the universe now, and he has control over the world between worlds. I don't just think he would defeat Abeloth, but I think that he would terrify her. Just sensing his presence would send her into a blind rage. And this, my friends, is just our opinion on this battle between Abeloth and a full potential Anakin. It should also be stated that in Legends continuity, a full potential Anakin would lose to Abeloth, as it was stated that Luke achieved that potential and Abeloth was 12 times the strength of Luke. but we now believe that Anakin's calling in canon is much larger than anything in Legends. But now I turn it over to you, my friends. What do you think of this fight? Do you believe that a full potential Anakin Skywalker would defeat Abeloth, the Queen of the Stars? Is Anakin's position in the Force now something more special than anything Abeloth could ever hope to achieve? And how do you think the Queen of the Stars would react to encountering the Chosen One of the Force? As always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting the archives in this longer video, and may the Force be with you.